and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to discuss all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton. Today, I am joined by industry legend, James Kendall. How are you, mate?
That was industry legend. That's the first time I've heard that.
You are an industry legend.
The £30 is in the post, as requested.
Absolutely. And this is going to be, I think, a very strong episode because Ian's story can't be with us, unfortunately. In fact, do you know what? Normally we record these on a Thursday morning, but neither of us can do it tomorrow. Certainly, I can't do it. Ian's not here. So, dedication, we are doing it on a Wednesday evening.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, it's now 9:15. I think we're both quite tired. But yeah, we decided to jump on of an evening. I've actually opened a full packet of Percy Pigs. And I'm really worried that these Percy Pigs are going to go.
Sugar rush.
Yeah. There's probably 600 calories right there just before bed. So I'm going to be wired and never sleep. But anyway, forgetting my sugar habit. How's your week been, JK?
Joe, it's actually been a mixed bag again, talking about Percy Pigs, mixed bag. But it's interesting at the moment. It's been really seasonal in terms of interest. To be honest, we've had a really crap month for sales, if I'm being completely transparent. I think I said last week on the 2 minutes I was on the pod before I lost all signal. Great pod last week, by the way. Nothing to do with me not being there. But yeah, we've had one sale agreed so far, like confirmed sale. But at the same time, I think I said last week, I've got two people that have offered on a house. We've got a 1.1, and we've got another house where we've got a dependent offer of 800, again at 2%, where I'm just waiting for somebody to sell. They've got 3 back-to-back viewings on their house this week with people that are ready to go. So we could turn a really rubbish month into, an average month with about 3 sales with the way things are going. And I would take that. If you said to me at the start of the month, you can have the best part of 45 grand in your pipeline in, 3.5, 4 sales or whatever. I'd probably take that for August, given how things have been over the last 6 weeks. In terms of sales progression, we had quite a decent month of exchanges in the last 2.5, 3 weeks, which was really needed. Because again, speaking to a lot of people in and out of TCA, some of the challenges people have had has been with cash flow, and obviously things taking a lot longer to go. And for me, it's been welcome. We've had quite a lot drop in, and I think Ian said the other week, you start to think to yourself, this is a bit edgy here, and then all of a sudden, a few drop in, and you wonder what you were ever worrying about. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, pretty good. Like in terms of activity level, I've got 17 properties in photography at the moment, and I said to the group, because we did obviously our members Zoom on Tuesday, we've got what have we done? I think we've done 22 vowels this month.
Wow, that's good, amazing.
Which is pretty good, and again, we've still got kind of plenty to come. We've got more booked in. Our 10,000 quarterly market updates are about to go out. So yeah, I think there'll be plenty of vows coming soon. But yeah, I mean, again, ups and downs. I think the podcast was appropriately titled last week, ups and downs. But we're moving forward, and there's lots of positive things happening. What about you?
Jackie, just before going to mine, I think just to unpack yours a little bit, I think we talked about it briefly last week, but I feel obviously this podcast is generally about being a mid to higher end agent as well, because obviously from where we've come from on our journey. And I was talking a little bit about how July hadn't been incredible for me. When you look at the front end numbers, and I hadn't felt as busy as I had been. I mean, I think I've said like previous 2 months before that, it's been backs to the wall, not just for me, for everybody. It's been tough, particularly with the bad weather and having to rearrange a lot of take-ons. But then settled down a little bit in July, which is holiday season, as we know. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't feel like we pulled up any trees in July. But then you look at your numbers and you go, do you know what, actually, what a quiet month, but that was pretty good. We ended up doing about 9 sales, I think, so it's not to be sniffed at anyway. But it's the pound notes that they bring in when you're at the mid to high end. And it's just the reason that I've just thought about it again is because it sounds like you've been in the same boat, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. Really, I had a really rough ride. Like prior to that, I think I said to you guys on the pod and obviously privately, prior to that, we'd had a really rough time. We'd lost probably best part of 100 grand nearly out of the pipeline in about 2 weeks, which was devastating, really. It's not, as you said, not to be sniffed at. Putting the big figures in the pipeline, and those big chunky fees feels great. When it's that classic, isn't it? You feel like you're driving down Beverly Hills Boulevard with the sun shining in your convertible 911 GT. When everything's going well, but then literally, life and estate agency world slaps you into the sea, without a sale, and you're like, oh, what's going on?
Wakes you up a little bit.
I would say though, mate, having looked, from afar, certainly from your social media, some of the stuff you've put on in the last 6 to 8 weeks they've been absolute crackers.
Yeah, there's been some really good stuff. I mean, we've had a crap start really to, well, again, I suppose I'm coming to this. We've not had the best start at all in August. We did. We had 4 quick fire sales. It was looking great. And out of nowhere, we've had 4 fallers. So, net zero in terms of units. But we are still like 15 grand up because we have the mid to high end brand. And I just feel like once you nail that and you get into this end of the market, it's although it can hit you hard if you have some big fallers, like big pound note fallers. On the flip side, it can really prop you up. Like 4 fallers just on Resi brand, it would be pretty much a disaster, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But when you've got the mid to higher end stuff coming in, churning out, it's a nice place to be because your bad months usually aren't as bad as just having Resi. They're a lot better, and you're only 1 or 2 sales away from everything being rosy again.
I think another thing as well, mate, you do need to do is zoom out for a little bit of perspective on what you said. So you had 4 sales, but you've had 4 fallers, but at least you're on parity and you're not -4. That's one thing I would say.
It's a great show, and it's quite positive. There's a time when those sort of statistics would have really got me down. And don't get me wrong, it's still challenging, and it's devastating whenever you lose an instruction or whether you lose a sale. We're passionate about what we do, but I have to say, it's I can deal with it a lot better now because of where we are. And we've got a team member down this week. Got another one that's out to the office a lot of the time doing viewings. It's just been me and Kate in the office, and we both feel it when it happens. But there's still got a lot of positivity. It's great. So I'm not too worried about it. One of them we can't resell because she's no longer moving, but the other 3 I'm confident we'll get them gone again. And you just move on, don't you? But aside from that, decent week. The valuations are coming in. We've just got out over the last sort of 2 weeks or so, just under 8,000, I think it is, 7,500 to 8,000, not on the market letters.
Nice.
We've booked 5 valuations off from them so far.
Fantastic.
All high value homes. Yeah, I'm going to a really nice one tomorrow. In fact, I'm doing tomorrow. We're doing. It's one of the reasons I can't do the pod tomorrow morning, but we're doing a take on a beautiful house in Worsley, which is not too far from me. It's 2.5 million.
Nice.
That came from a not on the market letter. It's an area that I wasn't in, and I'm now in quite considerably because I've got about 5 instructions there.
Brilliant.
And we've got another value. I've got a valuation in the afternoon that's come in. It's going to be around probably 1.3, 1.4 million. So we've been doing some take-ons. I'm glad you've noticed that what we've done on socials, JK. It's kind of you. We've done some really cool houses recently.
I love that water house, like the bridge, and the thing is, it's all good having the TCA and saying to people, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and this is how you do it, and sitting, in an ivory tower, but we don't do that.
No.
You're out there, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, doing the twilights with the photographer. You're on social media, and you're living and breathing like what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, and I obviously I do love it. Do love the job. So it makes it easier. But, Saturday night it was last week, driving up to Waterhouse. Didn't get home till after 10 o'clock and I was doing a twilight, but it's worth it. It's not all about the likes and shares, is it? People are watching. I get
a silent audience.
Say that again? Sorry?
It's a silent audience.
Yeah, absolutely. People notice what you're doing. And, we've just done some twilights this week at an old farmhouse. It couldn't have been a better night. And they've been on the market with somebody else only for 4 or 5 weeks. The price is horrifically wrong with the agent. The marketing's bang average. Communication's been poor. They were really unhappy with them. And the stuff that we've managed to get to them already, the communication's different. We've got the WhatsApp groups. We're on top of everything. But the shots that we've got for them, they're just incredible. I'll send you some after this pod, actually. They're really that good. It was just a perfect night. I think it was... did we have the Northern Lights this week? Not sure.
Not sure.
I'm sure somebody said we did. But it's such a beautiful night.
Let's pretend we did anyway.
It looks like it. Yeah, we did. We absolutely did. But yeah, they look like postcards, these shots. They're so good. It's just worth doing. It's the enjoyment of the job, I think, that gives me a lot of pride doing it and getting that side of it perfect. So yeah, look, some really good instructions, JK, loads of stuff. I've got 7 or 8 to come on over the next 7 days, and we've got another 7 or 8 in photography. So it's not a bad place to be. And it's like I've kept saying over the last few weeks, I think anybody at the moment who is carrying stock, the one thing that you need to keep doing is just communicating with your vendors, because with the talk of interest rates dropping further, particularly after today's news with inflation, yes, it went up, but if you read into the detail,
core inflation dropped, didn't it?
Yeah, say that again. Sorry,
core inflation dropped.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more the energy prices that are keeping it, are making it look a bit artificial. And there is now a higher percentage chance of another rate drop in September. So, there'll be arguments for and against that. And some people say it won't happen. Some people say it will. Remains to be seen. My view, though, is if you just keep holding your stock and educating your clients, keeping them in the loop, the good times are due, I think. It's just you've got to be patient. I know Story, I think he summed it up perfectly well a couple of weeks ago when he said the 4 Ps, one of which is now patience.
Yeah,
and I think we all need that, not just vendors. I think we need it as well. Keep doing what you're doing. Trust the process. That old cliche, and I think I think there'll be some good things coming. But I think, again, just on that news this morning, JK. So anybody listening, if you've got the Sky News app, it'll be on any of the news apps. But on Sky News, it came up straight away this morning, the inflation figures, and it goes into quite a bit of details. There's a couple of good graphics on there as well, and it was all positive news in relation to interest rates. Really, the upside was that although inflation has gone up a little bit, if you delve into the detail, core inflation is down, as you've said, and the knock-on effect might be that we will see an interest rate drop.
Tell me what sort of value you've had so far for the group, and maybe what value you've had for today as well.
So I think I joined the group in February, so 4 months. First batch of letters have just gone out. Endless list of value, which is continuous, if I'm being honest with you. So, and that's across the spectrum. So whether that be, like you say, just a simple how do we answer the phone, to how do we look, to what do we do on the valuation, how to endless, to be honest with you.
Right.
Plenty of value. I'm impressed.
The knock-on effect might be that we will see an interest rate drop again sooner than we perhaps first thought. I just think if that happens, especially in September, and it's how you are conveying this news to your vendors. So I put out a post to all my vendors today, or just on WhatsApp. I put one in our TCA group this morning, and literally all it was, JK, was a quick, I don't know whether you've noticed, but inflation is up, but this is the news, da-da-da-da. And this particular article was shared on Sky News. I think it's worth a read. And then I just gave my thoughts on what I felt it meant for the industry and that patience thing again. And every single vendor came back to me to say, really appreciate the information, David. Thanks very much. And a couple of them I had a bit of back and forth with, a chat, but they just know that you're on your game.
Yeah.
What did you do with that, JK, this morning?
Well, I did. I don't know if you saw, I actually put in our members group on WhatsApp, I put together a post for everyone to share. And basically, I took the key points out of the article, and just articulated it to sellers, and basically, made sense of the numbers and said, look, this is basically what it means, and this hopefully should be good for the market moving forward. And I shared that with all of our members, so they could then share that with their clients as well, so they could copy and paste it, which I think was really, really well received, actually, from the feedback I've had already.
Yeah, it's a time saver as well, isn't it, for everybody? Not everybody has time to do that, so it's good for them to be able to get that out.
But they can just position you at the top, especially if a lot of the clients I've got at the moment have been on the market with another agent, and the criticism of them has been they've gone on the market, they've chased for feedback from a viewing, they're not hearing anything on a weekly basis, and then they then go from. And I've even got people in WhatsApp groups set up with instructions I didn't win or haven't won yet. They're on the market with another agent, and I'm texting them saying, "Hi both, didn't know if you'd just seen this. Just thought it might be of interest to you. See, you haven't sold yet. Hang on in there because it looks like the good times will come." It's just whether I sell that house or not, it's being memorable, and I can guarantee I am keeping in touch with those clients much more than their agents are. So when the time comes to change, I'll be there, and it should hopefully. It's stood me in good stead so far. I'll be lined up and first choice and ready to go. But yeah, it was definitely. I suppose you could take it two ways, but I definitely saw it as a positive.
Yeah, and again, just for people listening. To me, it seems really obvious to do what we have done, which is there is a news article that is very much related to how the property market might perform. It seems obvious to the first thing that you should do is let people know about it. Don't just assume that they have seen the article and they get it, because 9 times out of 10 they haven't, or they might see it later. If you're seeing it first, it shows that you're on the ball. Once again, you're an authority and you know what you're talking about. And there's so many different things that you can do with that. I mean, WhatsApp is such a great way of communicating, as we all know.
Massively.
We have our WhatsApp groups, which are just so well received, and it's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest way to communicate with your clients. But just dropping a voice note with an explanation. It could be a generic voice note as well. You don't have to address every single vendor. So you could maybe just record one voice note to say,
and just click forward.
Yeah, hi, just wanted to get in touch to let you know that this article's come out. It's showing that inflation is up, but if you look into the detail, core inflation is actually down. It's energy prices that seem to be pushing it up. And the suggestion is now that we might get 1 or 2 interest rate drops later in the year, which could only be great for sellers in the market. So I just wanted you to know about it. Here's the article. Hope you get some use out of it. Drop me a message if you've got any questions. So it's one message, and the same message can be forwarded to every single one of your homeowners. I would be sending those as well to any potential hot valuations that you've got.
Yeah.
Any houses to sell that you've been chasing, anything like that. Just to stick it out there and make sure that they get the article. If you're brave enough, even doing a video and sticking it in all the local Facebook groups. Full disclosure, I've not done that on this one, but I think this morning perhaps I should have maybe done that. I think it's a really good thing to do, and it's great to have an opinion. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion, and some people will shoot you down and maybe say they disagree or whatever. That's fine. Have some debate, or they might not be your type of client. I got obviously JK, we send out a lot of letters, individual in between us. Today, it was yesterday, I got an email through. This happened literally within about 3 or 4 minutes of each other, but I got an email through to our main email inbox saying, it didn't even say hello. I have received your letter. I am not interested. I am not selling my house. Take me off your database. Thank you. So I obviously responded to him saying, no problem at all. Thanks for reaching out. We'll take you off the database. To which he responded very politely. Thank you very much. Within 3 or 4 minutes, the phone rang. Hi, I've received your letter. Read it with interest. Is David there? And I wasn't there at the time. So Kate's took the message. I've rang the guy back. Nicest bloke you'll ever meet. He's on the market with another agent for 1.1 million. He's not happy. Read the letter with interest. Said, he loved all the statistical data. And I had to say to him, it's so refreshing because a few minutes earlier, somebody's just emailed in to say, take me off your list. And
the thing is, though, I stick by it and I say it every single time. If you are not getting complaints and people saying, take me off your list, I don't require information, then you're not sending enough.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it was just nice. I said to him, it's weird. I just had you there praising it. And a few minutes later, someone's just emailed in saying, take me off your list. And he said, well, you'll not be for everyone, but I really like what you're doing. I've had a look at your website, etc., etc. So, it's I always go back to like Facebook groups and posts that I've done in the past. And sometimes when you're sort of defending something or you're trying to give an opinion and you might get overwhelmed with people disagreeing with you. And you've got to remember that they're not your audience.
No.
It's the small ones that really support you. And you don't have to be liked and fully respected by everyone.
Yeah.
It's particularly when you're going for a certain segment of the market. And I promise you, I could tell you, because I could tell you loads of different first-hand examples of where it's worked. And I've been able to speak to people and articulate what the market's doing, and they've seen posts that I've put on different groups, and they've seen your Facebook lives and all that sort of stuff. So, like you say, what do you call it? Silent viewers, silent.
We've got your silent audience. So people, yeah. I had that on LinkedIn, like literally 6 months ago. Guy that had connected with me, that was a local businessman, been connected for 2-3 years. Never interacted with any of my posts, never said a word to me, and all of a sudden said, thinking about selling my house, really like what you're doing on LinkedIn, can you come over and talk to me and my wife about selling our house? And I was like, yeah, fine. Went over there, signed it up, 900 grand, bosh. I was literally the only agent, and it was just because they'd seen what I'd been putting out on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You'll always have people. Again, we've spoken about it before with the letters, haven't we? How many times do you go out to a property and they've got a bulldog clip with like 6 of your letters in there?
Yeah.
You just got to keep stay consistent. I think we were talking about postcards, didn't we, briefly this morning in the group?
Yes.
I do. I think I said to one of our members this morning, I think you can really overthink that, but it's more it's just the consistency of getting them out there in your brand and getting your image out there. And it's the same with anything: social media, direct mail, postcards, whatever it might be. You might not get anything for months and months and months. Again, we targeted a new area in December. All the letters landed sort of late December, early January in a brand new area. Sent thousands. So as it's not cheap to do that. Didn't get a sniff. Didn't get one phone call. Didn't get one email. Sent it again in Q1. So that was the end of last year. So Q4 went out. So another one at the end of Q1. Got 4 instructions. Combined value 8 million. It's a brand new area. So you've just got to stay consistent and just keep doing it, and the rewards will come.
I look at it like, again, and a great analogy is like planting seeds. You plant seeds, some stuff grows, some stuff dies, but then when that stuff grows, you can get more seeds from the stuff that grows, that bears fruit. You replant, and if you stay consistent and you keep following that process each quarter, it will slowly just come together. And we're not talking about planting seeds and actually growing fruit here, but relating it back to agency and clients, you're building an audience with people. And I speak to people all the time. So I did a viewing the other day with a family on this house I mentioned at 1.1, and the dad came with him, and the dad lives in this area as well. And he said, "Oh yeah, you're James. I get your things through the post every quarter about the market." And I said, and his wife went, "Oh, is that this guy?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Well, do you want an autograph?" Or no, I didn't. But it was nice to hear, like, every now and then, like something like that pops up. And that hasn't come to any business yet, but you're building a relationship with those people. They know who you are, and you just never know when someone's going to drop in conversation. "Oh, I'm thinking about selling." "Oh, well, this guy James sends the market updates to me. He seems to know what he's doing. I'd get him out." Just coming into contact with the right people. So what we were going to talk about beating other agents overvaluing, and we were just going to have a little segment on video, weren't we, as well?
Yeah, because there's another one that I wanted to throw in the mix as well. It was just a little bit on conveyancing, because our legend Simon Gates sent me a really interesting text this week, and I said I don't think he's been mentioned on the pod for at least
30 minutes?
A week. Did we mention him
yeah.
last week? We'll give him a mention. We've already mentioned him now, but I'll run you through what he said later on. So yeah, just a bit of that. I mean, it follows on from last week. So first things first, we talk about a lot of the same things, don't we, each week on the podcast? But that is because this is what agency is. Ian made the point last week saying, we are estate agents. We're doing this every day. So they are real situations that we're talking about, and that's what estate agency is. It's about remaining consistent and doing the same things week in, week out, to ensure that you're getting good level of results. And we've been talking about challenges and trying to how you can overcome certain challenges. We talked about me this week having a few fallers and staying positive and getting things resold. What can you do with that? But one of the challenges that's been put forward this week, so as part of our Complete Agent membership, we have a monthly Zoom call, and that's it's a setup basically where our members can come on, everybody gets together, and they can bring with them their problems, any issues that they're facing, any successes that they're having as well, because it's always good to celebrate that, but bring their challenges. Myself, Ian, and James are on there, along with the other members, and people bring their challenges to the table, and we talk about how you can overcome them using our experience, and of course other members of the group as well. And one that's been coming up quite recently, and I think it'll resonate with a lot of people, is losing instructions to people who are overvaluing. So we said we were going to just have a bit of time on that today, JK. We all experience it. I pick up a lot. A lot of what I go out to is on the market with other agents, and 9 times out of 10, it does need something doing with the price. There's always an issue. Like when you go and see someone, I always say when I go and meet a new person, let's pretend you've never been on the market. Let's look at your market, or rather, let's say you've never had a valuation. Let's look at your marketing first. So let's see how many holes you've got in that, and let's see what we can do with that. But then when you get down to the price, often the main issue that they're not getting, main reason they're not getting interest is because of the number. And I've had some horrific examples over the last sort of 6 months, I'd say, probably longer, because there's so many agents valuing either on outdated data, overvaluing because they're telling the person what they think they want to hear, or simply they just don't have a clue, or the person that they're valuing for is just a number and they want to get them on the market in a long contract so they can chip away and get them down. And I think everybody across the country will have similar challenges like that. So assuming that you have had that, JK, and if you've not had it recently, let's have a fictitious situation where you might have done. How would you approach that? Because I think it's a regular thing. Most people will get 3 agents out, and there'll always be one that's got a stupid valuation. So what's your strategy? And I think
I had this conversation actually today on an appraisal, and I said, look, you could call 3-4 agents out and you'll get 3 or 4 opinions on what the house is worth. But I'm not here to give you my opinion. I'm here to present the data to you. And to quote you, Dave, really, present the data and articulate it to you so you can make an informed decision with your most valuable tax-free asset. I think, you can look online at automated valuations like Zoopla and house price index, etc. But they're just algorithms following price paid data and neighbours' price paid data. And quite often, in my experience, they give an overinflated number to entice people to claim their listings and grab their data. It's just a data grabbing exercise. And I often say that to clients that, if Zoopla said your house was worth 300k less than it's worth, would you believe it? So let's look at this objectively, like a surveyor would look at your house, because there's a reason RICS surveyors exist, and there's a reason why banks trust these people to value homes. So let's follow a process similar to them to find out what sort of number your house is worth. So what I then do is we obviously utilize Dataloft, and you've actually opened mine and Story's eyes over the last year to Dataloft and how to use it. And being able to present 4, 5, 6 sheets of paper, I've actually gone. I had my commercial printer installed this week actually, because we've gone from pretty much being digital only to printing loads, but just to leave it behind with the client, because like today, they said to me, well, we'd had a couple of valuations at between 575 and 6, and I said, well, the data doesn't support that. And the data basically, it was about 1,590 odd square feet off the top of my head, and the average pound per square foot in the area for detached homes in recent times was around the kind of 337 mark off the top of my head, which kind of brought it out off the top of my head to around 530, 525, 530. The house next door is on the market. The house next door is around 15 square feet less. And, this house has got a slightly bigger kitchen. But that's the subjective part, as we like to say. But as I said, look, that's been on the market at 550. It's going nowhere. Where does 575, 600 come on? Well, basically, I said, what's happened is they've looked around your house. You've told them that you've got this kitchen extension and you've got the upgraded kitchen from the builder and you've got the upgraded flooring from the builder. And they've obviously gone, right, well, we need to win this instruction here. So, what's the number you want to hear? And, that's when they came up with 5756. And I said, I just can't support it. I said, at the end of the day, you've got to decide on what it is you want to do. What are your moving plans? Do you want to be sat here in a year's time, like next door, wondering what on earth has happened? They're chasing a heavy ball downhill at the moment because they should have reduced their price a long time back and they haven't. And I said, if you want to be on the market and you want to be sold, we need to be somewhere between 525 to 550. That's what the data says, probably more like 525. But we need to obviously have a conversation about what does offers over 500 look like? Does that allow you to move on and buy what you want to buy? So I presented the data, the graph, showed them the last 12 months of transactions in the area, best price guide, which they'd have seen already. I said, you've probably seen about 8 of these best price guides already. But what I tend to do on the best price guide, so I've got my data loft val with all of the bar graph and all of the statistical data and plotting. I tend to go back to January 2020, just pre-COVID, show what happened in the COVID market, talk about the peaks of the market, where things are going in this particular instance, this house here in this area. Prices are starting to come down. You can see the decline on the graph. So just articulating all of that data. And then with the best price guide, what I actually do is I research all of the houses on the best price guide, including ones that are sold, add them to the best price guide in the area, put the square footage on there, the pound per square foot. So I got, look, because the thing is, you've got sold and completed data with Data Loft and Land Registry DLU HC data. But what about today's market data? And obviously you can only go on asking price, but having that on the best price guide goes, well, look, these are what people are prepared to pay for these sorts of homes in the market now. Now, that may be 5% below what that house price is up for, but let's just say, hypothetically, that person got in and around to that figure that they're asking. The figure I think I came up with in the best price guide in that instance was actually more like 325 a foot rather than 337. So I said, Land Registry data is obviously lagged, but today's data on SSTC under offer data is more 320 odd, which is why probably we need to be looking at 5 to 525 rather than 550. So that was a really long-winded version of answering your question.
No, I think there's a lot to unpack though, JK, and it's absolutely right. I think that, as I say, I've spoken to members this week. It came up as a challenge. One of the members said she's specifically having challenges with competitors overvaluing to win business. And I think that sometimes you've got to be bold and brave and walk away from stuff. There's always going to be, I think, well, the key for any valuation, I spoke to somebody. I've got a property at the moment. So the data tells me it's been on the market before with another agent at 1.65 million. It's a big home, 5,500 square feet, sits in just under an acre. It was on at 1.65 million with another agent. Really, really poor marketing, and they didn't get any interest. So I've gone out and said, right, again, there's holes in your marketing. We can massively improve this, hugely improve it, but your number is way out. So let me explain. So we went through the data for the exact postcode area. So we looked at pound per square foot for detached homes in and around that area. Obviously, there's a subjective part of every valuation, as we say, and this particular one has just under an acre. So we looked at what somebody might pay for that. All the data is telling me 1.1 to 1.25. So considerably lower than that. So he said, oh, right, so you wouldn't take it at 1.65? Absolutely not. It just, I don't want to waste your time and my own, to be honest with you. It's just not going to go there. Would you try it at 1.45? So we got into the detail about his circumstances. This is a couple that are pottering around in a 5,500 square foot house. They want to move to Ireland. They've got no real commitments here, and they've got a house already in Ireland. This house has got to be sold. Can we try it at 1.45? Yes, we can. But the data is telling me that it's not worth this. However, this is a generational home. You never know. Someone with high liquidity might buy this. So we're letting that scenario play out. So I've taken something on that's a bit higher, well, quite a bit higher than what I wanted to list at, but they're very motivated. We're servicing the client very well. The marketing's great. And at some point that will sell for whatever number that is, and it's a great fee. Now then, Ian had one that he talked about last week where there's little motivation there from that particular vendor. They want £250,000 more than he thinks he can get them. Walk away. Absolutely walk away. Or sometimes get it at the next junction. You know, it might be 3 to 6 months, but keep in touch with that client. Ian, again, bold strategy, but what he often does if he loses an instruction, which I really like, he'll share the advert from the agent that won it, which I think is nice. Probably knowing full well that the price that it's on at anyway isn't going to sell it.
Yeah.
You can get it the next time around. Sometimes there's a bit of that. But if we're going into the actual valuation itself, you know, you spent a lot of time talking about data there, and that's what we're all about. You know, ultimately, the first thing I would recommend anyone to do, particularly in this market where you're up against people who are overvaluing consistently, and there's loads of agents doing it, same people doing it in our areas. You've got to educate your client first of all and get them on side and let them understand that it's not a valuation. You know, that's the first thing I always say to my clients at my valuation. This is not a valuation. I'm not here to value your home. The valuation of any home is a subjective thing. It's only worth what someone is prepared to pay. I'm not buying it. You're not buying it. You are selling it. And hopefully I'm going to be trying to sell it for you. So we can't really put a value on it. If you think about it, in theory, a property doesn't have a value.
No.
It is literally only worth what somebody is prepared to pay. The highest highest bidder is prepared to pay.
Yeah.
But the data will get you in and around the ballpark. And like you've alluded to before, you could invite 3 or 4 different estate agents out, and what you'll get is 3 different opinions. I'm not going to give you an opinion. I'm going to give you statistical facts. This is what properties are selling for in the market right now, pound per square foot for your type of home. Not just in your area, in your exact postcode area. So there can be no argument. This is what they are actually selling for. Now, you might not agree with what I'm about to tell you, but it's factual. The data does not lie. And the rest of it is subjective. So you might be right. You might have a figure in your head that's slightly higher than what I'm about to tell you. And you might be right, because that's a subjective part of any valuation. But we've got to follow the data. And as long as we get in and around the ballpark, we can discuss then a marketing price that's sensible. And then I'll concentrate on how I'm going to get you there. But one of the other thing that people make mistakes with, I think, is when they talk, vendors talk passionately about how they've replaced carpets and they've replaced a boiler and they've put new windows in and gutters and fascias and things like that. And I call that maintenance.
Yeah, no one cares.
No. if you're buying a house, you expect it to have double glazed windows in the 21st century. You expect it to have some floor coverings. You expect a heating system that works. So if someone's saying to you, well, what are you talking about? I've put a new boiler in. I've put carpets in. I've got...
Our kitchen's bigger than the one down the road.
Yeah. But that's just maintenance. So I think it's really important to get your vendor understanding how people buy property and how people perceive property, and sort of have that out of body experience, listening to what they're saying, listen to what's happening here. Also look at the trends, because obviously we look at a lot of the data, then some of it is outdated, so you've got to look at what the trends are doing. What is Rightmove saying? There's a massive problem at the moment, isn't there? The stock levels are an 8-year high. So there's more competition on the market than there has been for a long time.
I had that exact conversation today. Sorry, mate, just to cut in.
All right.
It's reminding me that appointment I had today. And I said, look, because this was a house on a modern estate, quite a nice house, 5-bedroom detached, double garage, etc. But I said, look, you are a house on an estate. So you're going to be compared to other houses on estates. And there are other houses next door neighbours for sale. There's a house down. There's literally on that estate, and bear in mind, it's only an estate of probably 150 houses. There's probably, I think there's 5 4 and 5 bed detached currently available between 500 and 700 in that particular area. And in the wider radius between 5 and 700, there's 52 houses available. So, whilst your kitchen may be slightly better and you may have slightly more parking, we still need to be competitive in the marketplace because buyers have got choice. If we were talking back in 2021, when, the stamp duty holiday was in and, 0.1% base rate mortgages are around, lack of stock and supply, then yes, we can factor these sorts of things in, and people may be prepared to pay more for these, bits and pieces that you've got. But the reality is we need to get the price right because there is competition. If we're talking about, like you just said a minute ago, 1.6, 1.7 generational homes, then it's different because you can't just buy a grade 2 rectory on 4 acres. You've got to wait for one to come for sale. But when you're in that mid-end, it's certainly more that mid-end of the market where, as to quote Mr. Story, where a lot of the gold is, those 500 to 800,000 pound houses, that your busy families like to buy and move into. There's a lot of those on the market at the moment, and you need to stand out and you need to be bold with your pricing. Chloe and Richard this week have both been really good with some of the new properties they won. The clients really want to say, well, we won't let it go for any less than 525. So there's no point putting it on for anything less than 550. And we've been really strong and said, look, we need to go offers over 5, because if 525 is available, then we'll get it. But we really do need to be on a price point to get the interest at 550. I think we're going to be wasting our time. Rich, again, visited a client. Again, this is one of the things I said on the Zoom with the members. It's something I've said before in public as well. And I just think it's a great way for managing clients. It is going back out to visit people. Don't just sit behind WhatsApp and the phone and email. Don't ignore it. Let's go head on face to face and book meetings with clients. Go and see them face to face. Go and reappraise them. What's the data doing? Where's their house at? And Rich has done this. He just, we've reduced one by £80,000 today.
Yeah, great.
The sellers, unfortunately were really unhappy, but they're not really unhappy with us. They're just really unhappy with the market. It is what it is. And, as Rich, I wasn't there, but Rich said to me, he said, look, if you want to move, this is what you need to do. And how badly do you want to move? Do you want to move this year? We need to come down to this price. It's £80,000 below. If there's any more available, offers over, we'll definitely be able to negotiate it up. But it was a classic story, like you said a minute ago, Dave. On the market, I think it was at 935 or something originally, and it's about to come down in price to offers over 8. So that we've lost 125 grand. You haven't lost 125 grand because you never had it.
Yeah.
you need to be offers over rate. Well, I've never sold a house. I've not made any, decent amount of money on. Well, this is the market we're in. You've not perhaps sold in a market where there's been an 8-year high of stock, and it's a beautiful house. It's got compromises in certain places, but the bottom line is the price. The marketing is bang on. We've been back out to refresh some of the photos as well because we were hampered by weather, and just having that conversation so that now it should turn into a sale and those people will be able to move on to their next chapter. You've just got to have those courageous conversations and have the hard conversations now for an easier life later, rather than playing it easy now and having a hard life later.
Don't let it go on too long. It's a spot on thing to say that I've got a meeting booked in with a client on Friday. Been on the market for a while. We're meeting up, and it'll be a nice conversation. I'm sure we'll have a coffee and we'll chat through what they need to do to get their property sold. So yeah, definitely second that. I think you need to book some chats in as well sometimes with your bigger, certainly your bigger clients as well, your bigger fee ones. But the other thing I say, JK, in valuations, there's two things. Look for the why. Yeah. Again, it's a bit of an old cliche one now, the old Simon Sinek thing. But I think that look for the seller's why. Understand what they're trying to achieve. I was speaking to a client tonight, which I'm really pleased about. It's the third time I've been out to the house just to catch up with them. They always invite me. We think we've found the one, and I want you to come out again and just run through everything with us again. And the house is 900,000. It's possibly on a good day a little bit more than that. And he was from the first time I met him, he had 950 in his head. And I went round tonight and he said, "Look, we've found a house now. Finally, we're going to buy it, and we're just going to sell this separately. So there's going to be no chain." I was like, "Brilliant, that's great." He said, "The other thing is the way I need to do things because of my tax. At the end of the tax year, I'm going to have this, that, and the other. This needs to be gone. End of March, I need it to be gone." So I'm right, okay, that doesn't leave us a lot of time. And he's like, "Well, it's only August." I said, "I know. I've got to get it in photography. I've got to get it on the market. We've got to get it sold, and we've got to go through the conveyancing process, which on average is taking 154 days at the moment nationally. Did you know that?" No, I didn't. So again, another educational piece. What do you think to 950, Dave? I said, "It sounds great, but you're telling me now that you need to move by March. 3-4 months ago when I first met you, that wasn't the case. You hadn't even found anywhere. So I think we had time then. We don't anymore. I think you need to be more competitive on your pricing." And then that leads nicely into light bulb moments. So I always say, look for try and give the vendor rather a light bulb moment during the valuation. So that was his tonight. I said, right, I get it now. The 154 days average it's taking for conveyancing, which, obviously it can be beaten, but that's a national statistic according to Rightmove. Right, get it. Let's do offers over 9. So just pointing that out has got me a 50 grand reduction before we've gone live, and it makes it even more saleable.
Yeah.
Another good one that I'm having a lot, pretty much every single valuation is another light bulb moment is try and articulate mortgage rates.
Yes.
Using pounds and pence.
Yes.
So, 3 years ago, Mr. Vendor, your £600,000 house, if someone's got, say, 15% deposit, let's say for easy reckoning, they're borrowing £500,000 to buy your £600,000 house. Is that a fair assumption around that kind? Yeah, okay, yeah, get it. So 3 years ago, on the old interest rates, it would have probably cost them £1,800 to buy it. It's now costing them close to £4,000 a month. Sorry, let me re-say that. I'm tired. Maybe £1,800 a month on their mortgage.
Yeah,
which is not bad. Fast forward to now, it's probably costing them closer to £4,000 a month to buy it. The average first-time buyer wage in your area is X. The average professional couple's combined wage in your area is Y. That's why it's a struggle for a lot of people to buy a £600,000 house in your area. Does that make sense? I get it. Totally get it. And it's a light bulb moment that goes off. You've got to let them understand or make them understand why it is more of a struggle. So you've got stock levels at an 8-year high, so there's more competition. The interest rates are now higher, and although they're not historically high, in fact, they're lower than the 50-year average, In recent history, they are high. So that leads on to patience. You might have to have patience because people are still adjusting to these new interest rates and the higher cost of living. You just need to understand that it might not happen for you overnight, particularly if you're in a unique or prestige home, or if you're in an executive home that you've just described, and we get a lot of, JK, where there's the 10 a penny. There's a lot of them for sale.
Yeah.
There's a lot of competition in the market, and buyers looking for these lower interest rates, dropping. It's probably not going to happen where it goes to a very, very low rate. But the minute it does and borrowing becomes cheaper, it's just going to bring more competition to the market, and that's just going to push prices up. So you've got to give all these different scenarios. So, we've covered quite a lot there on the overvaluing. I think there's lots that you can do, but ultimately it's about educating your client and finding out their why. I think you've really got to get into that detail and make them understand that valuing a property is not an opinion.
Shift the dynamic as well. That is where the power is. Shifting the dynamic from being the agent that gives the opinion and it being you versus them versus 3 other agents, and be me and you versus the market.
I love that analogy. You said that the other day for the first time. I really like that. And I just think that significantly overvaluing because you've given an opinion, I think it's negligent.
Yeah.
I really do. Like you say, follow the data and make them understand that. So I hope that's helped people with some overvaluing. It's become a challenge. Just quickly, JK, because we're coming up to 50 minutes. I think we said we'd do a 30-minute one tonight.
Yeah. Me and you, talkers of the century.
Oh, God. Couple of things. I just wanted to give a shout out to Chloe, actually, who works for you.
Okay, yeah.
I think video is a really important thing in estate agency. I think it's probably the most important tool to get your brand out there and help sell a property. I really believe that. Photographs will only do so much. Descriptions will only do so much. Rightmove, obviously, is the number one website in the country. We know that. But I get incredible feedback and reach from my social media posts. We do preview reels. We do the full cinematic video tours. I do Facebook Lives. I'll have an opinion on social, things like that. And I'm a massive advocate of video. And a lot of people are scared to do video. I mean, a lot of, some of our members have struggled with it. Shout out to Penny. Penny's recently started doing video, I think, hasn't she? She did a cracking video not so long back.
The thing is, I don't know why she's scared, because she's really good.
Really good on camera. She was brilliant. So shout out to Penny. So there's quite, Steve Carroll, I think he's brilliant on camera. He was never scared of it, by the way, but he's just brilliant on camera. Most of ours have embraced it. But I think for those sometimes that are scared of it, you've just got to find something that works for you. And again, I must clarify here, I'm not saying Chloe was. You might have a different story about that you share, but I just saw a video that Chloe did for you guys, and it was a walkthrough reel with her talking over the top of it. And I know you've done a couple of these, JK, but I thought Chloe pulled it off really, really well. Yeah. I thought, wow, what a great style. That really suits her. It's kind of in the Tanya Baker vibe, as we know, who's brilliant. I think she's the queen of
where I stole it from, to be honest.
Yeah, I've done a couple. I've stolen a few off Tanya. I think her walkthrough reels are amazing.
She's a really good friend of mine, actually. And she has, I must say, shout her out. She's given me a lot of advice and guidance, and on certain things, social media before where we've chatted.
Yeah,
and just implementing a few things. And sometimes it doesn't always pay to be the first person to do certain things. But I always think, what's that saying that Stephen Brown loves to say all the time? Shout out to you, Mr. B. Success leaves clues.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
and you look at the success that the likes of Tanya's had on Instagram, etc. You look at where the most successful people are and what they're doing on Instagram, and I just think, well, if that's working for them, why not use a winning formula? You don't need to. Sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And I know Matt Giggs called me the mad professor on his podcast before when I was on that. And sometimes I am. I will just, I'm like, if I get an idea in my head, I implement it and see how it goes. But I just think with those reels in particular, we are seeing a real difference, because our usual kind of wide form cinematic videos on Instagram in particular and TikTok aren't performing. We're getting 200, 300, 400 views, which is pathetic, really. But you never know. One of those 200, 300, 400 views might want to sell their house. But what I have noticed in terms of metrics of doing this recently is that not only has our Instagram following increased from 1,700 to 1,900 in quite a short space of time, which is quite good growth, but our average view count on those sorts of reels is around the 2,000 mark. And with TikTok, it's double that. And we had some really good success on TikTok a little while back, but there are certain things and formulas you need to follow, and we're just giving it a go. Rich is doing his thing. I'm doing a bit of a combination of both. But as you said, I think Chloe's nailed it in that style.
She has.
And she's taken it in her stride. And it's working really well for her.
I think that style, if you're not like I do we do both. We do reel, we do it with more music over the top because it's quicker to implement. That's like part of our pre-launch. But as you know, we do the full cinematic tours. Certainly for that higher end stuff in particular. And I think some people might look at those and go, no way, I don't want to do that. And obviously you just get used to it. Mine, if I look back at my really old ones, they're so bad, and I think they're still out there. But I like to try and improve every time that we do a different video, and it's become a bit more natural now. But some people look at those and go, "Oh God, I couldn't do that. That's too much," and like they might not be confident enough to do it, and that's okay. But there are other ways that will get you lots and lots of reach, and I think Tanya has implemented that better than anyone I've seen, to be fair, with regards to the reels. I think she's excellent. And I just I saw that this week, the Chloe one. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give her a shout because I thought it was so good. It's almost like she'd been doing it forever. She'd found a style that really works. Yeah. And I think if anybody looks at that video, I'm sure it's on your website, JK, or you can post it, a link to it. But I just thought, what a good way of promoting someone's property. She's literally just walking around. She's done a bit of a voiceover on it. There's nothing to sort of in your face, nothing to be worried about. Anyone can do those. And as you've said to you, it's getting lots and lots of reach. And if you're not already following James Kendall Estate Agents, go and follow them because they're doing a lot of those. And of course, again, shout out to Tanya Baker. You're right. If you're not following Tanya, follow Tanya. Her videos are great. And did you know, I heard this on the podcast because I met her in London briefly when we did the Property Porn Stars podcast, but she speaks into a pillow. Did you know that?
Yeah. We had that conversation.
It's so good. So funny. She doesn't use a microphone. She just has a phone and puts her head into the pillow with the camera.
Chloe, spoiler alert, Chloe does her in a car.
Oh, does she?
We tried to do it in the office. We tried to do it with a proper mic. We tried to use it with the proper setup we used to use. But it echoes too much.
Yeah.
So she goes in her car. Huh?
That's what Tanya was saying, I think, on the pod. She was saying it echoes a lot. She's tried different Rode mics and all these. The best thing that she's had is when she speaks into a pillow.
Yeah. Well, just dampens the sound. For Chloe does it. Bless her. She sits in her car. Like she had 4 to do today, back to back, where we just had shoots that have just come through. And she just done 4 back to back reels in her car. Can't do it with the aircon on, so obviously it's been really warm today, so she gets sweating. But it just gives that sound. And so when we're using CapCut now to edit these.
Yeah.
And CapCut, if you've got Pro, it's got a couple of decent AI voice enhancers where you can minimize any background noise and tinniness, and it works really well. Well, hopefully the proof's in the pudding. But just to cap off on that, I think where we're heading with this in terms of the videos, obviously we're going through the brand split at the moment, just waiting for Jenny to finish off obviously one of our other projects that we're on before she can start on mine. Then we will be looking to implement the probably our brand split by early part of next year. But just while we're going through that process, I'm getting the lower end part of the brand and lower end part of the houses used to that format, if that makes sense, and those sorts of reels, and that's how we're going to go. That part of the brand video is still super important, but I want it to be that sort of real style. But then the upper end gets that plus the whole cinematic tour as well, plus the brochure, plus the Twilights, etc., etc., etc. So yeah,
love it. Just going to finish off on the Gatesy thing that I mentioned. So,
did you actually mention that, by the way? Because you started talking about it earlier, and I was thinking to myself, did you miss? You said talking about conveyancing.
Yeah, it was just
you said Gatesy, and then we started talking about something else. I was thinking, did you actually?
Yeah, I said I'd come back to it, which I will do. I'll finish on it. I think he's felt a bit lonely. That's what it is.
We have to mention him 10 times in order to get our sponsorship. So Gatesy.
This is it. I mean, he texted me on a Sunday morning. So he said he was out walking the dogs, listening to the pod. And I think he was sort of saying, it's about time I got a mention again, is what he's put on his text. And he sent me some information that I've not fully unpacked yet, but he sent me a link to a company that I'll not mention yet because I want to have a read through it first. But one of the things he said is that one of his clients has found that sellers who instructed a solicitor when listing, as opposed to when they found a buyer, shaved 6 weeks off the transaction time. And this is across a half a dozen office network. So that would be you encourage your seller to instruct the solicitor at the point of instruction, fill out all the paperwork, get everything done so that when that sale gets agreed, bosh, as you would say, it's all done and dusted and sent across. He sent some follow-up graphs and data. Gatesy, I apologise. I know you sent this last Sunday. I'm a busy man. I will digest it though, and I will have a look at the link. I did forward it on to you and Ian. I think Ian's had a good look at it as well, and he said it looks mint. So I'm going to digest it, and if I think it's worth a mention on the pod, I will give it a mention. But I just thought that particular stat there, so I'll read it again. Sellers who instructed a solicitor when listing, as opposed to when they found a buyer, shaved 6 weeks off the transaction time. And this is across a half a dozen office networks. So it's not just 1 or 2 days,
isn't it? That takes your average transaction down to, around the 100-day mark, which is very nice.
Which is about right, isn't it? That's the normal. That's what we all expect. That's what we always used to sort of forecast on. But now, at the moment, everybody will be different, and I'd probably get challenged on this because some offices will be better than others. But nationally, it's 154 days, which is the best part of 5 months. It's not great.
You do get a lot of Facebook heroes, though, that are like, oh, well, my average transaction time's 3 days.
It's completed before I listed it. Yeah.
Well done.
Not even put it on the market yet, and I've handed over the key.
Yeah. Not even been to value it, and it's completed. Well done. But for the rest of us out there in the real world, this is what's happening. You are only ever as fast as the slowest cog in the chain.
Yes, absolutely.
JK, it's been a place to leave it.
It's a great pod. What are your plans this week? Got lots on?
We've got quite a few take-ons. I've got the kids next week as well for a few days because Mrs. K is going on holiday. So we're going to have a few days away with the kids. Actually enjoy some quality time with the two kids throughout half term. And then Copenhagen the week after. So nice little break. But we've got loads happening at work. We've got again, I think I said to you earlier on the pod, about 17 in photography at the moment, and I think we're just about to get the go ahead on a couple more. So we've got loads and loads of stuff coming to market. I think we're going to end up probably start of September with about 55 on the market. Yeah, which is an incredible number, really. And I think, as you say, once the 19th of September rolls round, if it does look like I think it's a 46% or 44% chance now of an interest rate cut, and also again just on that, because I'm conscious of time. There's lots of banks and building societies at the moment offering 5-year deals below 4%, and the latest is NatWest at 3.89 now. And that is unheard of at the start of the year. Your average rate was well above 5%, 5.5%. So, there's definitely signs of what's to come. So I think, as you said, Dave, and alluded to earlier and last week, the agents that are holding good stock are going to be in hopefully for a good time in the next 4 to 6 weeks. But just to cap off, what about you? What does your next week look like?
Take-ons. I've got quite a few take-ons booked. Booked some nice valuations from the not on the market letter, which is always nice. So got a few things to go to there. when I finish this pod now, it's as we said before, it's Wednesday evening. It's now 10:15. I've got 2 houses to get ready, so I'm going to do that, and then big take on tomorrow. So lots going on, and I think I was just about to say to you then, enjoy the time with the kids next week, because I think over the next couple of weeks, after this next couple of weeks, it's game on for the rest of the year. I really believe that.
Going to be going hard, definitely.
Yeah, let's see. Right, JK, been a pleasure as always. Ian, we have missed you. Look forward to having you back next week. Once again, we postponed the 4Ps. We said we were going to discuss the 4Ps. You weren't here last week. Ian's not here this week, so we'll do that next week. But thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week.